Today I'm going to be showing you my Siskiu N9. It's bike check time. One of my favourite bikes, my Siskiu N9. This is the bike that I race all my World Enduros on, and I'm going to be running through my setup and all the components I ride. If you haven't seen my bike check for my Siskiu T8, I'm going to link that up here, so just click there. That's the shorter travel version though, it's a trail bike. This is my full World Enduro Destroyer, so it's got more travel front and rear. I have 160 mils of travel rear and 170 up front. The forks, the RXF 36 M2, so these are the second version of the 36 fork. They come with a dual air chamber, so that's two different chambers, one for your negative and one for your positive spring. The negative spring deals with the start of the stroke, and your positive spring deals with the end of the stroke, so how progressive or linear you want the fork. I choose to run my fork a little bit more linear than I guess the market would tell you. Everyone's gone crazy with how progressive things need to be, and you need to have this really supple start and crazy high ramp up at the end, but I actually like to have a very supportive mid stroke. Sure, because this fork is nice and sensitive already, I can still run a higher negative air, and it gives me an amazing mid-stroke, a lot of support, so the faster I go, I don't feel like it's wallowing or I'm dipping and diving. That actually gives you a lot of confidence for steeper tracks, so just something to keep in mind. It's not always about bar height or the amount of spacers you can put under your stem. Having the right air pressure in your fork really can go a long way to making you feel safe and confident. So just something to remember. Next up is my drivetrain. We'll start up the front here with the FSA SLK carbon cranks. They're 170 mil long cranks. I run them on all of my bikes. They're my go-to. Run them for World Enduros for the last 4 years. Never cracked a pair, just unbelievably strong. I don't even ride the little shoes that go on here to protect the crank. Next up is my Microshift 10-speed group set. It's the Advent X, so it's the highest group set they do. Still cheap as chips, but really reliable. The shifting's so good. The clutch is amazing, clutch is on, so clutch is really strong. I hope that demonstrated it well, and you could hear the ratchet moving inside. That is adjustable, so you can actually take off the cap and adjust your clutch depending on how tight or loose you want it. You don't want a clutch that's too tight because that'll actually start to affect your suspension. Being able to independently tune how tight your clutch is key to bike setup. It's going to make your bike feel a lot better through the bumps as well. Up here to the Advent X shifter. It's that noise, it's very positive. I've been blown away by it, and I can't wait to start riding World Enduros this year with it, so that should be good. When I started talking to the guys in Microshift, what really sold it to me was their theory on the way the industry's gone. 12 speed, even talk at 13 speed. Some companies already bringing out 13 speed options. But do we need that many gears, or is it actually just a battle of the titans? Is it a battle amongst SRAM and Shimano to see who can one up? You know, every year there's one more tooth on each of their cassettes. Do we need that, or is 10 speed enough? Or let's say 11 speed for like the sake of argument. Is 11 speed enough? Is 10 speed enough? I honestly think it is. My eyes have been open to this. Up next are the tyres. So I ride for WTB. I ride their tough casing, high grip tyres all the time. I never go for lighter casing unless it was an XC bike. But most of my bikes are all mountain bikes, so they always get that treatment, which is the tough casing, high grip. Up front I've got the Vigilante 2.5. So like I said, Vigilante front and rear, 2.5 up front and then 2.3 in the rear. Just gives a bit more clearance for when it gets mucky. And for me, being Irish and the kind of changeable climate and weather, it's a tyre I actually leave on all year round. I never change, so it's done me really well and I can't complain. One more thing about the tyres and the wheel setup, I've just received some new clutch core inserts. I'm going to be riding this in the rear for now in Ireland. That should be enough, and then for World Enduros, generally front and rear if it's really rocky. Comment below if you want to see a video on how to install clutch core. I'm happy to do that. I kind of have learned now over the last few years the best way to install them. The wheel set, they're FSA's afterburner wheels. It's an asymmetric rim design, so they don't need as many spokes and they can still guarantee a really strong wheel, or overall strength of wheel is really good. I've ridden these wheels for about 4 years, I think, and they've been brilliant. I also like that the internal width isn't too crazy. It's, I think, 28 mils. So my saddle of choice is the WTB Volt. I have this on all of my bikes. It's a medium width. I say you could call it a medium height cushion. It's not over the top, but it's not super streamlined like a road saddle. It's got titanium rails. It's very light and it's just never given me any grief. I can rely on it and it just does what it needs to do. So the Volt saddle for me is just perfect. I'm not going to change it unless WTB basically stop the line, which I don't think they're going to do. I'll be on the Volt for years to come. I don't see it changing. It's amazing. Next up is my dropper post. I ride for Bike Yoke this year. So that's a German brand. They make really high-end stuff. For me, one of the craziest things about this dropper is how smooth the lever action is. It is crazy. It's so light. It's just a crazy light action. On my T8 I'm riding the 213, which is the biggest dropper in the market, but that's just because I had more insertion depth in the frame. So for this bike, 185, it's mint. The saddle's still out of the way for descending. Every 100 push of this dropper you get a free cookie. So we're going to try it a few times and see if that happens today. That'd be insane for this video. Come on. Oh my god. Cheers. Next up are the bars. I ride 780 wide bars. They are gradient bars from FSA, 30mm rise. The clamp diameter is 35mm, so it's an oversized bar. These are FSA's premium bars. They're carbon and they come 800, but I cut them to 780, as I said. For this bike I ride their gradient stem. It's 50mm long. Basically for the enduro bike, it's not as long a top tube, so I like to keep a bit more pressure over the front wheel. I don't ride for trick stuff, but I have to say they are the best brakes I've ever experienced. Galfer discs front and rear on this bike. Because the brakes are so strong, I ride a 203 up front and a 180 in the back. They're standard width, and I ride Galfer brake pads as well. Alright guys, so that's it from me. That's my bike check done, my Siskiu N9. Beautiful paint job. I hope the sun is showing that today. It sparkles and glistens, it's really nice. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, I'm going to be bringing out a video at minimum every Wednesday for Wolf Wednesdays going forward. Please subscribe, I do appreciate it. I am trying to get to 10,000 subscribers by Christmas. That's the goal. Hopefully I'll hit that. And yeah, comment, let me hear your thoughts on my bike, my setup. If you have questions about my setup, if I didn't mention it, please comment. I'd like to hear what you think about 10 speed as well. Do we need 11 speed or 12 speed or even more? Yeah, tune in for the next one. Cheers guys, thanks.